Hey everybody, welcome to the Marquez Says Show. I'm your host, Marquez Mosier, and this is my co-host, cohort, and eldest son, Austin Jordan. He and I always seem to bring out the feisty side of each other, and it leads to some very spirited conversations. There's never really any one topic. We see the world from many different perspectives, and sometimes we agree, and sometimes we don't. Either way, it gets very interesting, so sit back, relax, and have a bit of fun at our expense as we explore some of the most unexpected perspectives you'll ever hear about the world we live in. So, let's get started. Well, let's try this again, shall we?
To the audience at home,
Yeah.
we've had technical difficulties, and usually I'd love to blame them on
Me.
Yep, but this time it was me.
Not this time.
It was on me.
Yeah, turning on the amp, it's probably...
I've never had problems turning on anything either, so...
Oh, but... As you can tell, this is going to be all about Austin's show. So, welcome to the Marquez Says Show, although we will substitute welcome to the Austin Jordan Says Show, because this is a special episode. Our own co-host, cohort, and whatever else right over there.
I can't remember what we normally
I
say.
actually just say co-host, cohort,
Oh, okay.
and we'll say co-star today.
What up?
He is dropping a new album, and you all get first peek at it. We are going to go through the album. We are going to give you little snippets of it.
Yep.
And at the end, because you're going to want to hang around, you will be listening to the first release off of it, which is
Old pictures.
Old Pictures. That's what it feels like every time I take a picture of myself.
And you were just saying you're not old.
I know. So,
Wow.
so that's how this one's gonna go down. So if you want to listen to some really cool music, I'm not gonna tell you what kind it is because you're gonna just have to listen. Mainly because it also is quite a bit different.
I don't even know if I could tell you what kind of music it is.
That's true. And what is the album's name, Austin?
Robot Soul.
Robot Soul. Right away, it just grabs you. It pulls you in. It says robot. It says soul. It says, what does that mean? There's a contradiction. There's a duality. I love it.
It's artistic, you know.
And
Which
what
is
exactly does it
everything
mean?
I try to do is just uber art.
And on a serious note, what exactly were you going for with that? Where were you?
No, in all honesty, I was joking before with it being artistic and pretentious and all that, but in all seriousness, it really was about the duality. It was about communicating a feeling through melody that I couldn't otherwise do without certain tools, because I'm not the most technical singer. I'm not even a very good singer, but...
With auto-tune.
Right, but auto-tune can fix a lot of that. And the thing that I like about auto-tune that I've grown to love is that it makes everything sound kind of robotic. Like, if you manipulate it in a way and if you know how to use it, you can use it as a tool to sound, you know, almost like a robot. And what I was trying to do essentially was convey these really, like, personal, darker blue feelings. And I felt like putting that through a robotic kind of filter almost would be a really cool way to do it. It really started off like that, and just experimenting, and then the songs came, and then, you know, well, actually, first a breakup came, and then the songs came, and it just, everything kind of came together.
It's always an inspiration. Breakups are always an inspiration, and I agree. The songs do definitely, it's not just singing, there's guest appearances.
Right.
There's
a lot of rapping, yeah. It's mostly a rap album.
And but I have to admit, it's definitely diverse. Which is great. So we're gonna go through it in order, and then we'll tell you which one is actually. You'll get the snippet of the single, but the single in its entirety, like I said, will be at the end. So hang around and listen for that. Well, all right. What's the first song?
The first song is California Dreamin'. It's a cover of the classic song, but this one is in a very different take, kind of like those different perspectives we're talking about.
Absolutely, because that's what this whole show is about.
Yep.
Just taking perspectives, taking points of view, and yeah, this was definitely interesting.
This was actually a little fun fact about it, was the first idea that I had, before I even had the idea for the album. I've wanted to do a cover of this song in this style for well over a year.
That is true, because I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I've always really wanted to do it this way, and I literally told my friends, and they said that it was a dumb idea, and they actually laughed at me.
Yeah, well, that was not the first time, though.
That's true, yeah, but honestly, I think it sounds dope. Hopefully you guys do, too.
All right, well, here we go. Check it out. We're going to play a little snippet, and then we'll be right back.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. California dreaming on such a winter's day. Stopped into a church I passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like the cold. He knows I'm gonna stay. California dreaming on such a winter's day.
All right, so that was the first song off the album. What's number 2?
Number 2, Old Pictures.
Old Pictures. So
I was
right
about to
off
look
the
at
bat,
the track list like I don't have it memorized.
Yeah, right off the bat. Okay, so you're going to just get a snippet of this, and you're going to definitely want to, like I said, hang around to hear it. And, of course, you'll be able to grab it at all the favorite places that you like to get, all the streaming services.
Yeah, it's going to be on everything. It's going to be on Apple, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, wherever you could stream.
Yep, it is. So go out and get it right now. I mean, as soon as actually, I take that back. As soon as you're done listening to our show, then go out and get it.
Right.
And then, okay, so Old Pictures. Now, Old Pictures is one of my favorites. I really like it. So where did that come from?
Okay. So that song is weird to talk about, mainly because I started that beat with the vocal idea that you hear in the beginning after the drums and then the beat drops. None of that was there originally. It was just that vocal idea of it's not humming. It's kind of like humming. That was basically the first thing. And then I put it through a harmonizer and then I built everything else around that track from those vocals that I did, which is actually how I approached most of the songs on this album, was vocally first, which was completely different from anything I've ever done. And then I kind of built it up, and then I added that bass line that my dad loves so much.
I do. I really like the song. It's just, it's just one of those ones. I have a certain style that I like, and sometimes, Austin, you'll hit exactly what I like, and then there's ones that you'll find out throughout the rest of this. I'll be like, it's not exactly my type, but this one was definitely one.
Yeah, and what's kind of fun and interesting about what you just said right there is I enjoy making music like that. Some people want to make music that everybody enjoys, and that's a good thing. That's not exactly what I mean, I would love if everybody enjoyed it,
right,
but I want to do something a little more challenging. Yep. My favorite albums of all time were stuff that I probably didn't feel all that great about at first. And that certainly the general consensus didn't. But it takes time, and you grow with it, and you experience, and then you learn, and you soak it in.
Yeah.
It's kind of something I wasn't actively trying to do when creating this album, because I don't think people really actively think, oh, I don't want to please people. But I think looking back on it after the fact, that's kind of how it turned out. Yeah. And I say that especially about Old Pictures. I feel like this is going to be the song that's one of the most divisive on the record, because other than the vocal performance, it's a pretty traditional, almost like a modern day update of an 80s pop song just with an 808. In my opinion, that's how I view it. And that's how I had approached a lot of the songs on this album. I was listening to a lot of 80s music, like Wham, stuff like that, classic Prince, and all that stuff.
That's where a lot of stuff comes from. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's not unusual. If you had heard people in the 90s, they talk about the 70s, and in the 80s, they talk about the 60s. So that 20-year Spanish, that 20 to 30, that makes sense, because that's what you heard when you were growing up. So
yeah.
All right, so here's this one. Again, remember, this is going to just be a little snippet, and then hold on for the rest of it at the end.
My apologies, I holla, please take apologies when I take these pills that I need to sleep. I can't see, but I just can't seem to say how I feel. I can only acknowledge you, and even then it's only half the truth. What's the point of saying I hear you when it ain't nothing new? Don't know what to do, don't know what to say. How did we drift so far away? Bonnie and Clyde, now Jekyll and Hyde. Would have seen you when I say sad about sometimes evil, sometimes nice. Feeling like I'm in control is my main fight. Feeling I never know, so I lash out alright and apologize for the same thing every night. And I guess that's the price I pay.
All right, so we're back. So what did you think of that one? What I mean, come on, people. I mean, is that not the best song right there? That's why we're leading it. So.
And then each song just gets progressively better. Look, I just made the greatest album of all time. It's just that simple.
People just don't know it yet.
Nope, they just don't know it yet.
So like I said, you are in for a treat because you're the ones that get to hear it. You'll be able to say, you know what? I remember when he was discussing that.
Right.
Way before it's going to be, all on, whatever the top 41 is, and they go in and talk about it.
Before I have the most #1 hits of any artist in any generation.
Oh, well. Let's go. Let's hold off there because I know you want to be #1 because, that scares you. So it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Look, if it's handed to me like I anticipated happening.
Oh, and you mentioned when we were listening to that, you mentioned there was something else.
Yeah, so there is. So about the writing of that song, I actually wrote that song the night that I had broken up, that me and my ex had broken up that day.
Is the song about that? Because you've told me that obviously it's inspired and stuff like that, but you also mentioned at one point, I think you told me that it wasn't specifically or exactly about it.
So when I said that, because so that's a good question right there, and that could be applied to art as a whole. Is things directly influenced from one situation?
Taylor Swift would say yes.
Right, and that's what I was going to use as Taylor Swift is a great example because the album as a whole is not about any one particular event. Kind of like a Taylor Swift album. It's not about a whole particular event, but there are songs on it that are about a certain person or event or whatever. And that song is very much so inspired, yes, by the event and by that person and stuff.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, however, we're on great terms. I don't feel like that song personally gives a negative spin on anything that happened. It was just
it's a commentary.
Yeah,
it is.
Right. It's just a commentary of somebody feeling absolutely heartbroken in that moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like all great songs, it has a line that can be misconstrued. Now, I don't know why I picked it up as you can keep your ego.
No, that's LA Cliche.
Oh, that's the other one. That's what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about old pictures.
No, we're talking about LA.
No, remember because you wanted me to add something to old pictures. That's what I said. I wanted to add something to old pictures. LA Cliche they haven't heard yet.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, but we'll lead it into that.
Well, that's actually leading into it right now.
Right. So all that stuff, it's part of the other song because I thought of it when we were listening. But so LA Cliche, that next track, right? So,
like all great songs, has a line in it. Has a line in it that, of course, can be misconstrued. Just like, there's a bathroom on the right, and there's
mow the lawn.
and nothing that 100 men on Mars could ever do. So this one, you can keep your ego, I can keep the car, but that's not it.
That's not the line. That's not the line.
So you were talking about LA Cliche.
Right. So LA Cliche is not about that relationship. I actually wrote LA Cliche, or I started writing it years ago, like years and years and years ago. I had the idea for the general idea of that song. It started forming around the time I moved to LA. So it's been a while, 5 years. I just never fully wrote that song. And then I was getting towards the end of the album, and I really wanted something that was like poppy. Like, I wanted something that was, a bit more overtly pop instead of kind of dabbling in it, because I've been listening to a lot of pop recently, and I don't like bubblegum pop, and I don't like watered down pop. I like good pop. I like pop that's written by strong songwriters and stuff like that.
Yeah, the ones that you all do until they actually die and you realize they wrote 30 number or top 20 hits and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, there are people that write these types of songs, like Jack Antonoff. Or
well, you talk about in the 80s, there was Richard Marx used to do it. There was a lady, I can't remember, she was actually a judge for American Idol, and I'm blanking on her name.
Paula Abdul?
No, she was a special guest judge.
Oh.
And people were like, well, who is this? Something Gianillo or something.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
And she, when you look at her credentials, you're like, holy crap, how many songs that she had her hand in.
Well, exactly, stuff like that. And I just wanted to try my hand at something that was, honestly, I wanted it. This was probably the only song that I deliberately tried to make as catchy as possible.
Success.
Well, thank you. I wanted the album to be something kind of enjoyable and memorable and catchy, but this was the only song that I really like. And it just kind of came to me naturally when I was producing the beat. Like I said again, this was at the tail end of the album when I started making the song. I made the beat and wrote the record in probably 45 minutes. Just all because I had the idea, so I kind of was cheating. I had a little bit of an advantage, but the original song was just a rap. it was not gonna have like a singing chorus and stuff, but I saw lines that I'd wrote and taken them, put them together, and did the hook that way.
We walk around and I see something with April and stuff, I'll be like, LA cliche.
Yeah, I mean, the title kind of gives away what the song's about. It's not exactly a complicated song.
Nope. And actually, speaking of which, we'll roll into it right now.
There we go.
I'm cold cause I give all my warmth away. Won't let you in because I've been pushed away. One day you're here but you don't plan to stay. I guess it's just another LA cliche. I wish I never met you, we'd be better off. You could keep your ego, I could keep my heart. Don't let an inch just slip away. I guess you're just another LA cliche. 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 Quit hitting my phone, I don't wanna talk.
All right, so is it stuck in your head? It should be. It should be. And if it's not, listen to it again. So, anyway, okay, so moving on to the next one. Now, this one I have mixed feelings about because Austin, of course, is my son. But he's also his own person.
This song slaps on another level.
Oh, see,
you're just wrong.
He's taking on a total different persona because when you hear this one, well, you'll definitely have to go download the album. Because we're gonna play the clean version, or at least the clean snippet of it. Yeah. Because this was a duo. I mean, a
collaboration.
Collaboration. That's what I was looking for.
So
which, by the way, guys, is really good. It's just when I look at it from a father standpoint, I'm like, oh man,
this song is a banger. It's just, this is probably
banger. I hardly know her.
Oh God! But and you want to talk about my song? This song is probably the grimiest track that I've ever done.
Oh yes, was it not safe for work? So,
NSFW.
Yeah, don't be playing this at work without headphones on.
Right, it is not safe for work. But that's exactly why I love it, and I love it in the context of where it is in the sequencing. Something that's really important to me with an album is sequencing. I do not like just putting songs together on an album. That's not an album. That is like a collection of...
And all the great albums, actually.
Right.
Well, I take that back. You can argue there's two sets of great albums. One's where they basically try to make every song fit in at some point, somehow.
Right.
And then there's other great albums where it's loaded in the front and filler in the back. There's nothing wrong with that because you can still have a great album, but you just have to understand.
Yeah.
You have to understand that's what it is.
True.
This is not one of those albums.
No, and I think that there's, and that's interesting to me because I know who you're thinking of when you say it's loaded in the front and sucks in the back, or not sucks in the back.
And a lot of rock albums are similar to that but some of the most cherished songs are those ones that fans love are in the back.
Yeah, that's true. Deep cuts. That's 100% true. To me, that's an interesting concept, and I like where it holds its place in the music, history. But that's not exactly what I want to do, and I'll never do that.
Well, and what you just said is actually true about it. But that was more historical because the idea behind was you'd have a couple hits,
right,
and you had to have an album to support it. But then you kept some of the really good stuff because guess what? You needed to have another album, and you had to have some hits and stuff. So you didn't put everything on one great album. You would actually hold stuff back.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a lot of schools of thoughts behind it and all that. And I think that's great, but that's just not something I'm interested in. Okay, but Spaz, the story about Spaz. So I made the beat, another beat that I made really quick. I was actually doing it. I made like 5 beats that day, and I liked them all, but this was the one that I gravitated to the most. Finished producing it. I sent some snippets to my boy Real Talk.
Shout out.
Right? Yeah, shout out. And he really liked it. He hopped on it that same night. I sent him the beat. He rapped on it, did his thing, killed it. I love the first line on that song. I know that's it's just so not safe for work, but after the melodic first 3 songs, especially coming straight out of the most poppy song on the record, and then all of a sudden for it to come in that way, I love it.
It's a bit of a wake up. It's like, oh, okay, this album isn't just going to be fluff or
right,
and so
exactly.
on.
And to me that was important because I didn't want the album to be fluff, and I was afraid that stacking so many melodic songs back to back to back would give it that impression. So I love that, and it comes in with a different voice too. My voice is kind of high pitched, and especially with the auto tune, it's kind of a little thin by design, but it is a little thin, and I can admit that. So coming in with this thick, low voice, it was cool to me sequence wise. But I met him at the Kanye West opera, Nebuchadnezzar, and we were just, hit it off, and we just exchanged contact info. We just been in touch, and then it finally linked up to where we could do something together.
So, All right, so here you go. Here's the build up, and like I said, just take it for what it's worth. All right.
Well, came throw some roses when I pull up to the mansion. Oh yeah, all my business and I'm working on expanding. Oh
I hear all the mentions, I pay attention. Y'all say you're coming from me. You're welcome to do it, but it is foolish. Won't let a hand on me. Do you really want it? Me as opponent, I drive off the pain. You can say what you want as long as you don't forget the soaking wet.
That I go with the fast flow, but I like this a little more. I can kill it while the upbeat is slow. Decisions, it's tough being so versatile.
And we're back again. Okay, so now you understand where I was coming from as a dad.
Yeah, but you also understand where I'm coming from as an artist.
No,
and
of
that
course.
stuff
Like
is
I said,
hard.
I have never said anything ever, even when you were younger, when I could technically still say, hey, don't make songs like that and stuff like that. I never did. I was always like, I get it, it's fine. So,
But you know what's funny about that is if I ever tried to make a song like that when I was younger, it didn't work.
well, yeah.
Because it was weird because I didn't have the experience.
Yeah.
Like it was, yeah, and it just sounded like a kid trying to be all, you know, but it works now.
Yeah. Okay, so the next song is...
Sorry, coffee break. I didn't expect that question. Sinking Ship.
Now, Sinking Ships, this one actually has a lot of your rapping on it.
Yeah.
This goes back to for those who have heard him, because for those who actually don't realize it, Austin's been doing this since he was 14, 15.
Probably
I mean,
younger.
almost, yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it since I
least-
was like 12,
Yeah.
but I started taking it more seriously around 14, 15.
Yeah, I remember it more in junior high and certainly in high school. So definitely you've been doing this for at least almost a decade.
Remember when I started?
Sucked?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's true. I still suck, but no, no. Remember when I made that like record company in like 7th grade? Remember I made a contract for it on like Google Docs and stuff?
Yep.
Or it might have been Microsoft. It might have been Word at that point. I don't remember. But
So this one, what is this one a little bit about? Because this is where you start to get into much more of a thoughtful half of the album.
Right. So this one's more introspective, melodramatic, very melodramatic, but it's cool, you know. And it's interesting that way. It's built up again. I mean, this one started with vocal melodies. It wasn't my vocals this time, but I started it with choir samples and just built it up with synths and the drums and all that. But this one lyrically is just about where, like, kind of feeling lost with yourself. Like, where are you? What are you doing? You're conscious of what you're doing, but why are you doing it? Why are you in this position? Where do you aim to go? And then I kind of wrap that up in the metaphor of being on a sinking ship. Like, in that sometimes...
Especially if you're on a ship and it's sinking.
Right.
What you just said is exactly like, my God, this is a catastrophic event. This is happening to me and I can't do anything about it.
Essentially. And that feeling of like hopelessness, but at the same time being comforted in that feeling of hopelessness, because at least you know there's nothing else.
Yeah.
So if
You
you're
know what's going to happen.
Right. And then so you know that things might not end well. You're anticipating that, but in that anticipation there's a comfort because you're just accepting of it. And then, you know, it's kind of it's one of the more, the song is wrapped sort of in that metaphor. And then talking about how you know, at the end of the first verse where I like ran away to avoid being a castaway, whatever that line is, it's basically saying like, I mean, by anticipating a bad event though, I ended up making it worse. I was trying to run away from something that I really, in hindsight, shouldn't have been, but I didn't realize what I was doing.
And it'll be something that I think everybody can identify with something in their own lives.
Right. Oh, and then another thing, that very first line, that's an ex that I dated, or I didn't even, it was kind of an exaggeration. We'd kind of dated in high school, but I mean, this is a good example of like artists blowing up a certain situation. Right. We weren't that close. But,
inspired by.
Exactly. But she had gotten married, and I saw that on Instagram, and I was like, well, that's just strange.
Yeah.
Especially going, like, you know, after going out of a breakup for such a long, like, and being a very long-term relationship, and, like, seeing that, it was just strange. It felt weird, and I think people could probably relate to that.
Yeah, a little introspective there. So.
Yeah.
All right, so here it goes. Check this one out.
certain way.
Okay, so now the next one. What You See, correct?
Right.
This one is probably this is going to be your most divisive song on it, and not because of the words, the content, or anything, but just because when you hear this, just from a musical standpoint, I love it. It just puts a smile on my face because it's just like this is not. It's funny because you could call it an anthem,
right?
But it's not a traditional anthem. But
not.
it is a. I'm going to get up and move. I am going to take this on. I can take on the world, etc., etc.
Right.
But how do see and. Just for everybody out there, this one, he's gone back and forth.
This song was cut on the album for a long time.
And a lot of people were one like, no, you gotta leave it on.
So I saw an interview once where Kanye was talking, I think it was RoboCop. It was on 808s and Heartbreak album. It was either RoboCop or Paranoid. I don't remember exactly which song. But it ended up on the album, but it was one that he never felt totally okay with. Like, it was never quite where it could be. That's how I feel about this song.
But it's like, I mean, right off the bat, with just the melody, or I should just say the rhythm of it is just kind of like I'm gonna get hyped up. This is the one that athletes put on. This is the one that when you're about to go out on stage. This is the one that you can listen to. And
I like the song. I've always really liked the beat, and I've always really liked the hook, but I never felt like I did enough in the verse. And I just structurally. The song it's strange to me. It's strange. So,
well, you know what? Let's just let you know what? We won't even talk about
before. Okay. let me fix this statement real quick. The song is super dope. I love the song. I wouldn't have finished it if I didn't think it was tight. Everybody else really likes it, so that's a good thing.
Well, and you did. And to be honest with you, I mean, I'll be all fairness. It wasn't that he wasn't going to release it at some point. He just didn't want to do it on this album.
Right. I was going to put it out as a bonus track, but everybody really wanted me to put it on, so. I did it. The song's super cool. Hope y'all like it.
You will not change me.
Yeah, it was. It fits thematically very well.
So here you go.
You will not change me. You will not break me. You can't erase me. I am what you see. You think you'll save me, huh? I don't need saving, huh? I put my soul on display. What you see's what you. Hey. My thoughts go crazy in the nighttime. Insta models always blowing on my timeline. How am I supposed to get a damn thing done if I learn one thing, never settle for one? When your heart gets broken several pieces.
All right. So see what I mean? That is totally one where you just gonna be like, yeah,
Hulk smash.
So, but now the next one, like this is how Austin does it. He switches it back up, and the next one you just sit there, and it's a Sunday afternoon cruise. You just drive in.
Cruise. That's a good,
You know, just that it's throwback for those who older listeners or the older at heart or whatever you want to say, the old souls. You'll understand what I'm saying. And then the new ones, when you guys are out just like kicking it, this is kind of like that one. And if this doesn't get stuck in your head, I don't know what's wrong with you, because I know with me, I did. Okay, so go ahead. What's the next song, Austin?
All right, the name of this song is, you guessed it, I Did. It is another song that I did really quickly, and another song that was at the tail end. Another song I did at the tail end of the album. Another one that I did really quickly. Funny enough, I was in the shower. The vocal idea.
And then you did?
I did.
Yep.
The vocal idea hit me, and then I thought about what I would like to do with the beat. Laid the beat down, finished writing the song, recorded it, all that stuff in probably an hour. And then, and then again, this song touches on aspects of relationships I've had in the past, but there's no song except for Old Pictures on this that is directly tied to one person. And even Old Pictures is kind of skewed with some other experiences that didn't have to do with that one person, but it's mostly in that category, But this song takes from just like everything,
totally different sounding,
right? Just like a frustration of it's always frustrating, and when you're getting towards the tail end of a relationship or a friendship or whatever, and even if it's just a rough patch, and then the person tells you oh well, I wish you communicated those feelings. I did communicate those. It's like, why do you think we're not communicating well in the first place? There was just, it's like, I did tell you. And that's where those frustrations came from, and then it turned into the song. I did my first verse, but I had known, okay, this is a lot of auto-tune crooning. So I was like, I need to reach out to my good buddy, Zay, and he'll kill it on an actual, like, really singing, like, and bring a real voice to it, you know? And I just thought he would kill it, and I knew he was going through some stuff and that he'd be able to relate. And so I finished. I'd been sending him snippets while I was making it. He'd been telling me it was super dope and all that stuff. I bounced the track out, emailed it to him. He wrote the verse on paper, no less. He sent me a picture of the verse, and then he recorded it the next day. And then shout out to him because he's a trooper, because I made him re-record that song I don't even know how many times. Probably at least 3, which I know in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like a lot, but guys, there is a ton of vocals in his part. There's like 18 different vocal stacks going on throughout his whole verse. So recording each one of those every single time times 3, that's a long time. Like, that takes time. And he did that for me, though, because he's devoted to making it as good as, possible, and he trusts my, opinion, so.
Cool. All right. So, yeah, I did, and like I said, you're going to be bobbing your head along when you get done with this one. So, I did, All right, here you go.
Ayo, you ever tell your partner something and then they're just like, I wish you told me sooner, and you're like, I did. Baby, you drive me crazy. Have you listened lately? You know I spoke the truth. Quit fronting when you know that I did. 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 Yeah, I did. Why do you keep on playing with me? I thought it was quite plain to see. I gave you my all, everything. You know that I did.
All right, so what'd you think? Bobbing your head, huh? That's what I said.
I wanted it to be fun.
Yes, but that's another one, though. Just a little side note was that you were also kind of like,
okay.
You haven't been as positive on
right.
that one.
Okay, no. So this is a good juxtaposition before we get into the next song. Is that song versus What You See. I couldn't even remember the name for a second. Okay. What You See was a song that I wasn't sure about based off of just,
We're not there yet.
We did What You See. Yeah, we did. That's the one with the don.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
I got to mix
okay.
up. My bad.
Because like what you were saying is like, yes, I was a little unsure about it, but I always knew the song was for I Did. I always really liked that song. I just knew that there was a lot of auto-tune, so I wanted to do something to kind of offset it. But I'd always loved that song. I just didn't want to play it for people in its early stages before I had built it up more.
Yeah.
Which is what he's referring to, because we've had that conversation of like, because a lot of times when I do a demo of a song, I'll send it to him. I didn't send him a demo of that one, because he's not traditionally a fan of the auto-tune singing that I do. So I didn't, anything that's more singing heavy I do, he's not generally a fan.
Well, that's because I've heard him sing without autotune.
Right.
And
so
you won't, and hopefully you never will.
There's a few moments on this album that I sing without autotune that sounds good. Actually, I do it without autotune in the beginning of that song.
Yeah, probably what, 1 second, 2 seconds?
It's like
not enough to actually.
Probably 15 seconds.
Oh, see, that's probably just under the point of what you
Right,
sound like.
right. Well, and it wasn't a very challenging part. It's more sing-songy than
There you
anything.
go.
And
See,
then the rest of it is drenched in autotune.
So the next one.
Right. Next one is Saints Go Quiet, which is, I've had that song written actually for probably about 2 years. I made the beat about 1.5 years ago.
Because, yeah, this one, when you hear it, you understand that it doesn't, I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't fit in, because it does fit in quite nicely, but it's a different, vibe.
This song was never meant to be on this album. I reworked it a bit. But originally, I mean, when I started writing this song, guys, and when I did this song originally, because there is an original version of this from about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago maybe, probably actually 2 years ago, it was not the way it is now. The beat is pretty much exactly the same. The lyrics are the same, but the delivery was completely different. When I originally did it, it was just a rap, but it's really slow. So it's almost like a spoken word, and I just never really liked it that much. I never thought that
some things don't work out. Some things are like, it looks great on paper, and then I love that phrase. It looks good on paper, and
well, exactly, and that was a classic case with this song. Is I loved the lyrics. The lyrics were super relatable. I thought they were super dope, especially towards the end of the first part of the song, because there is a beat switch. it's not even really a beat switch. It's like a whole song switch, but thematically fits really well. It's probably my favorite moment on the whole album when it switches into that second part.
Yes, you made a big deal about that because that was your hang up with the whole song, and then
Yeah, it honestly is my favorite moment, songwriting wise, everything, composition wise. I think on the whole album, but yeah. So then I was thinking, and I started halfway through this album. I was thinking of songs, and like I kept going back to the song because lyrically it fits so well with the rest of the material. So then I was like, how do I approach it?
Right.
And then I thought, oh, sing it.
Yeah.
And, I was like, you're trying different things right now, just do it. So then I just sang the whole song instead, and I was like, whoa, that's actually kind of cool.
it's amazing what you can do with auto-tune.
Right. No, exactly. That's in...
I say that facetiously, but also seriously.
No, yeah.
Both.
No, definitely serious. Coming from somebody who used to hate on auto-tune, like a traditional music kind of guy, which is what I used to be.
Well, and you did it, though, necessarily because it was fixing flaws. In your case, it's not necessarily fixing flaws, but
Right.
it's creating a sound.
Right. I
It's
was creating
almost
an
as if-
atmosphere.
almost
in
an instrument.
Right, exactly. That's a great way to describe it, is I was using it as an instrument. Good job. No, that's totally true, though. And then I thought, and then what better way to encapsulate that whole thing of sounding like a robot than doing a whole slow song with drenched in auto-tune, manipulated in a way to make you actually sound like a robot.
Yeah.
And like you're just almost at that point of emotions. Like a robot's almost gotten that. And that's
So-
kind of what I was doing with this song.
So why is it that you don't get so worked up about this song? Why is it that you just have so little? I'm kidding, because as you can hear him,
Yeah.
he's
No, 'cause-
going. So
yeah, this song, it's been around for a long time. Finally made it work.
okay,
yeah, it's cool.
enough. Let's hear the song. You built it up enough. All right, here you go.
Blurry pictures, it's a scar but never clearer. I see you screaming and you're angry in the mirror. I know what I'm seeing, it is quite an awkward scene, cause all I seem to hear are careless whispers. Fuck is you doing? Get it grip, you ain't shit. Grow some balls and fucking deal with it or call it quits. In my experience, ain't shit alleviates. Your crutch becomes what you pay. Relationship shatter.
All right. So what'd you think about that one, huh? I mean, like I said, all that hype up to it, it's definitely fits exactly what he was saying. So, all right. So now the next one, title track.
Yep, Robot Soul.
Now this one, for those who, I'm sure, I guess there's probably not too many, but for those who have listened and have heard his music before, this is, I would say, almost classic A.J.M. in the sense of
Repackaged.
just the lyrically, the delivery, the messaging, just those specifics are very, very much what he's done before.
Mm-hmm.
There's other songs when you go, hopefully, I believe they're going to also be, they should be also up with, where you can download these as far as like Division, right? Or Fate.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get those songs up. It
And-
probably won't be up as soon as it won't be up at the same time. Like right
So just
now,
keep
they won't
checking.
be
Yeah,
out.
you'll be
but
just gonna have to check
I'll
back.
let
but
you guys know when they're out.
The reason I say that is because then you can be able to see and go, oh yes, this is the evolution. This is where he started and where he ends
Yeah.
up. And this Robot Soul one is definitely one that you need to listen to repeatedly and listen to the lyrics, because the lyrics, especially the second verse,
Yeah.
are important. They're not just good, but they're important.
Well, thank you. The second verse is arguably it might be some of the best lyrics I've ever written in that second verse.
Makes you think. You just,
And-
it's and enjoying why you're thinking.
Yeah, and it's, I talk about a lot. I wasn't originally gonna do a title track because I'm not usually a big fan. I think it's a little gimmicky. It's kind of a cop-out in a lot of cases. But this time it just kind of worked out that way. And ultimately, I mean, if you listen to that song, you wouldn't automatically think, oh, this song's gonna be called Robot Soul. That doesn't get introduced until the end, which was actually a part that was written, I mean, obviously at the end, I mean, like you'd assume, it was written towards the end. This song was kind of just in free fall for a while, and then I added that part later on, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I've added it on a night I literally didn't sleep. It's like probably 7 a.m. the next day. I hadn't slept at all, and then I just got hit with like those 8 bars or whatever it is towards the end, wrote it. Okay, becomes Robot Soul. That beat was never what it was until late in the album process, too. That beat was originally, I don't know if you remember it, but it was actually like this weird sort of techno kind of thing. I'd played it for you before,
So that-
and
okay.
you were not feeling it. And then I wanted it to sound really crazy. And then just the more, and I had a song done to it, and it had those last 8 bars. But I just wasn't, I was like, no, I really don't like it. And then I was like, I'm going to rework it. And that's when I did all the new drums and all the new stuff.
Because if you haven't figured out by now, these things go through iteration after iteration after iteration, where all of us are just pleading with him going, stop it, put the brush down. Put the brush down and let it be finished and put it out for the world to see. So,
yeah, but had I done that, none of these stuff.
No,
like,
that's
a lot
not
of
true.
this would've-
That's not true. There's a lot of these things that changes that you made that were inconsequential, and they were to you, which is fine because you're the artist. I get it, but they would be inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, other than for what you wanted to make it feel like, and that's fine because that's the artist's prerogative. But like all artist dilemmas, there is a point where you have to put it down. Quit being George Lucas. Let it go.
And in most cases about this album, he's right. But this song really did undergo an insane composition change by the end of it.
And those are the times when it's necessary.
Yeah, so like this song is, you wouldn't even, besides the main synth layer in there, you would never even realize it's the same song.
All right, so here you go. Title track, Robot Soul.
Do you trust me? You couldn't pay me to say something that I don't believe in. You can lie on my name, shoot me. I swear it ain't no grievance. I'm more than happy to leave the people mourning and grieving. If that's selfish, I'm sorry. At least I had good reason. My family knows I don't bow to foes or keep my mouth closed. I'ma stand on my principles. I won't walk on my toes. You ain't gonna push me. Trust me, many have tried. Many of those truly love me. I'm stubborn. I apologize. I've lost relationships, lost my best friends, lost the love of my life. What makes you think I don't want this?
All right, so now we're back. So, yes, Robot Soul. Robot has a soul. Can robots have a soul?
We're advocating for robots here. That's what we're doing. That's actually the hidden meaning of the album.
Yeah, AI.
Yeah.
Spooky, boogeyman. So, okay, so now we're down to the last track.
Yep.
And this one is more of a family affair because we got my daughter, Austin's sister. Although you will actually hear it at the beginning.
Yeah.
But the poem that is done,
Serenity Prayer.
The Serenity, is actually our oldest daughter, Taya, who was on a show earlier. If you want to check back old episodes, the one about spirituality, the occult, religion, and Scooby-Doo. It's actually really interesting. So check that one out. And she did that. She's the one who you hear speaking it.
I reached out to her. I had finished the song. I'd mostly finished the song. There's a vocal part towards the ending before the last chorus that I hadn't done yet, but everything else was done. I wanted something in the beginning because it's a lot of instrumental in the very beginning, and I wanted something to kind of fill it out. So I hit her up, asked, hey, would you want to read the Serenity Prayer? And she was like, yeah. And then, so she does it. She sends me 3 takes of it. Sends it back to me. She just recorded it through her AirPods, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But it gives it this really cool, gritty sound. And then I mixed it. She only expected me to use 1 take, but I used all 3, and that's why it sounds like that. I've got
it's
one
really cool.
1 all the way to the left, 1 all the way to the right, and 1 in the center. Yeah. And then I modulated this delay and all this stuff.
Techno speak, blah, blah.
I know, but it's cool. And then it makes it sound like
it does.
Just awesome.
It is. It sounds. And I get to take credit for saying that you should use it to open up.
Yeah,
so that you
and
can tie it into.
Right. I kind of forget about that at this point, but the California Dreamin'.
That was literally my old rock albums that I listened to when I was a kid, and how they would do a tie-in. They would do that.
Yeah. So California Dreamin' originally opened with me harmonizing. It was like a vocal riff. And then, like an A section, and then goes into the B section that is California Dreamin'. But, we took that away. It was his idea, and I took that away and put this, this vocal part in the beginning.
It seems just so obvious. Once I heard it, I was like, you need to get this. Basically, the reason I said that was because I didn't want people to hear this last. Yeah. I wanted them to hear it as soon as possible. Yeah. Because it was setting a stage for you're going to get something different. You're going to hear stuff different perspective, and all of the other things. Yeah. And that was why. And I don't always like making suggestions because normally they don't go over so well. But I figured this one.
This was a good suggestion.
Now the song itself, the song itself
is one of the more lyrical on the album for sure.
Your delivery, there's a lot of influences that Austin has, and he can speak to them if he wants to or not. Mm-hmm. But when you hear this song, I think as a listener, it'll sound very familiar to you for some of the different styles of the rappers and different artists over the last 20 years, which is kind of comforting because to me it's your own, absolutely 100%, and one that actually I like. Because we've talked about where there's a fine line sometimes when you've done, angry versus energetic and so on and so forth, and and sing-songy and stuff. But it really is taking the influences of the past, creating something of your own, and moving forward, and then working on it.
Right.
And that's what this song to me sounds like.
Yeah, and kind of thematically, to branch off of that, that's kind of what the song is about. Is this whole album is dealing with themes of loss, right? Loss of a relationship, loss of a sense of self, loss of purpose, whatever. And then it gets to this point at the end where it's not exactly comforting. It's not really a pick-me-up, but it's also got a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel because it's basically recognizing, okay, this is fine. You'll figure it out. You're existing here, but you're kind of internalizing some of these things, and instead of being ashamed of them or afraid of them, just kind of use it and, be comforted in it and all that stuff. And that's kind of what this last song is about. And then, obviously, the playoff of How Can You See What I Don't Show is people picking up on the fact that, well, you're not okay. Yeah. There's something going on. And, I might not be communicating that, but people could be perceptive to it. And it's not even just so much about me. It could be about anybody, but sort of that world. And, yeah.
So, here. All right. So, here you go. Check this one out, and then we'll be back.
Egotism, trapped in a mental prison. I'm held in by these bars, they're extensions of the sentence. Every single kick and snare, a punctuation adjacent. I think it's time to face it. I lock myself in cages, connected by insecurity, by the fact that I ignore what makes me me. How can that be? We're all guilty of wanting to change some more than others. I was always really good at projecting realness as cover. I believe it when I do it. Sometimes I'm superhuman. My confidence ain't fake, it's just easily ruined. I believe my fate is to learn more comfort of what I'm doing. To trust my intuition despite how others are viewing. Nobody's with me.
All right, so
I want to actually say something.
Yeah, no, we're back, and you just you heard that he wants to go. What were you want? What?
So just about the whole album, right? I mean, some of these ideas have existed in my head, little ideas, for 2-3 years now. Some even go back way farther than that. But I mean, this album came together really quickly. I produced 95% of it, recorded it all, and wrote probably about 95% of it as well, from a span of May 1st to August 1st or whatever.
So this is basically a lockdown song. A lockdown album.
Essentially. I mean, I would have never been able to do this had it not been for quarantine and having extra time and
quarantine.
Right. I mean, but I made this album essentially in 2.5-3 months, ground up.
Well, I think you should. Is this the proper word? You could say that you produced, because you had the ideas. You had, they all came together within this short amount of time.
Right.
It wasn't like you started from scratch for each song, Right.
Well, most of it. That's what I was saying. Is most of it started from scratch, but except for those few examples that we've already talked about, they kind of existed. But yeah, I mean, it just all came together so quickly, and for me, that doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not.
Because I get bored pretty quickly, with stuff, unless it really interests me, and if it's different and challenging.
Yep. So there. You, like I said, you got the first peek into this. Hopefully, you enjoyed that. We're going to sign off, but hang around, because of course right after that you're going to get the full version of the first single, Old Pictures. I was going to say LA Cliche, but no, Old Pictures. And then go download it, check it out. Obviously our podcast itself, that would be great if you find and follow us. And then also we'll put in probably into the notes and stuff everywhere you can get the download, stream, etc. So hope you enjoyed it. As usual, think more, care more, live more, and remember, you can change your life. You can change the world, one decision at a time. Talk to you soon. Enjoy.
Hope you liked it.